Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Angela Albers, and I am the elected Wood County Criminal District Attorney. I have held that position since 2019. I was appointed by Governor Greg Abbott to serve in 2019. I was elected by the people of Wood County in 2020, and then elected again in 2022. Not only have I been the elected district attorney, I am a career prosecutor. I got out of Baylor Law School and started my career at Rockwall County in the DA's office, where I learned how to prosecute drug cases. I then moved to Wood County, where I've been blessed. I raised my children in Wood County. My parents retired to Wood County, and it is a wonderful place. And I will tell you, a lot of people ask, well, does it really matter who the DA is? Yes. While you may not have been in trouble yourself or had a family member or friend in trouble, it matters because we live here and we raise our families here. We need a DA, which is what I am, who is tough on crime. I am a true conservative. At 18 years old, I was the youngest precinct chairperson in my county, Montgomery County, and I have followed Republican politics my entire life. Raised by working class people who taught me about the values that you have to have conservative. And it does matter if you're conservative or liberal. And I am a conservative by record, by voting record. My record backs up that I am tough, Texas tough. I have, just this last year, Logan and I, my assistant, I want to first thank my son, Seth, in the back, for being here for me tonight, a lot of my office staff, and a lot of my friends from church. But Logan and I tried a child abuse case, a continuous abuse of a child. And it mattered who the DA was, because that gentleman received a life sentence. You have to be trained to know how to handle these cases. And I have built that on a roadwork of starting in misdemeanor court in Rockwall County, and then moving all the way up to doing murders and continuous sexual abuse of children. Let me tell you this. Not only does it matter that I'm tough, but integrity matters. I am not going to change parties to benefit myself. I have been a Republican my whole life, and I will die a Republican. And the most important thing to know about me is that I am led by Jesus Christ. I am a committed Christian. I have raised my children in church, and because of those values that Christ symbolized and taught us, I lead by that, lead by example. And I ask for your vote to continue being tough and serving the people of Wood County as a district attorney. Thank you so much.
Well, despite my cancer, I may be pretty loud. Y'all hear me? Good evening. Okay. All right. So my name is Sarah Bailey King. I was raised here in Wood County. I was actually born in Oklahoma. That's a different story, but I was only there for 4 months.
Put your mic up.
But sorry about that. I was raised here, mostly in Winsboro, finished up at Alabama. I have been a trial attorney for 21 years. I have worked at Brown Ferry King, managing that office for a few years prior to that. And prior to that, I was a classroom teacher for 11 years. I'm running for district attorney because our county needs a DA that recognizes that the clients are the citizens, the taxpayers, the voters, and even the visitors that come to Wood County. That they all need to feel safe. They all need to feel like justice is won. That's why I'm saying making justice a reality. That's kind of been my theme. Some of my clients, their justice becomes reality, and they may not like it, depending on criminal case, federal case, didn't turn out like they felt like it should. But I have a lot of questions about this current regime. Tough all the time, but there's some things that just are strange that I saw come up, and I'm running to find out why this is happening. Not only do we have to about victims. Do we have a victims coordinator? At one point, we had someone that was a licensed clinical social worker. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about that in order to make sure that the bad guys don't get off on a technicality, that we have some decent public defenders. Right now, there's just a handful, maybe 3 or 4. I'm concerned about some of the numbers that I see that come out, some of the statistics. They're off a bit. I got concerned about these things and got off the court-appointed list because it was tough doing those things. That's bothered me. And it's also, we need to think about that she's also the county attorney. You need to think about, my understanding is, I believe that parenting is a fundamental right that is guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America and the great state of Texas. And her office also represents the Department of Family and Protective Services. And many of you have been touched by that. You have family and friends. But I'm ready for the end.
Well, thank you for adhering to the timer. So our first question is for both of you. Do you think it's important for the DA to have a good working relationship with law enforcement? Why or why not? So you get, yes, 1 minute.
Okay, absolutely, it's important. And do y'all mind if I sit down, or would you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. It's absolutely important. And I started when I took over in 2019 to repair relationships with law enforcement. I had about 4 times a year a chiefs meeting where I bring in all of the chiefs from over the county and all the agencies, and we discuss intelligence, we share ideas, and we talk about what things can my office do better to support you. I have a first responders softball tournament where we bring all of the police and the fire and EMS together. And we just have a good time doing that, but we're also raising money for the East Texas Crisis Center. So absolutely working with law enforcement is very important.
And same question for you. Do you want me to repeat it or are you good? Okay.
Absolutely, you have to have a relationship with law enforcement. And that means that you've got to work the cases. That when you get the cases, they don't just sit there and linger and all of a sudden take it to the grand jury, the mystery grand jury, that no one knows half the time if they're meeting or not. That also means that you don't just reject it to that law enforcement officer and don't explain to them, hey, this is correction. That also means that you time to time, there's a chief's meeting. What about working with officers, about preparing them for court, getting ready for some criminal defense attorney that's going to attack them on cross-examination? What about that? What about making sure you've got a good case? Instead of getting there, I'm thinking of a child pornography case that but for the judge, the witness, including the person who found it on this individual's computer, was subpoenaed just 2 days before trial.
May I respond to those allegations?
We are allowing that, right? 1 minute response?
Okay. Sarah, I really don't know what you're talking about, but my record speaks for itself, and you can look online and find out what we've been doing. I just talked to you about Justin Blaine Sicard, life in prison. Stevie Lynn Taylor, 75 years for tampering with the witness. Lonnie Van Drury, 65 years for failure to comply with sex offender registration. And I could go on and on and on. We could not get those convictions and those tough sentences from judges and juries without law enforcement being there to testify. And we absolutely work with them. We bring them in and prep them. I bring victims into the courtroom so they're not surprised when they walk in there. We absolutely work with them and prepare them because we want success. And success is when a victim can walk out of my office and say, thank you for caring about me.
Thank you.
No, it's a rebuttal to yours.
Going back? Yeah. think so. Yes, we're gonna go on to the next one, but I'll have you go first this time, okay? What is more important in a conviction what is more important, a conviction or a clean record for appeal, and why?
That's a tough one, because as a trial attorney, you want to have a good record. And so you're hoping it'll be a conviction. And that's why you want to have a good record, and that's why it brings up, you know, we have 7 prosecutors in this office of a county of about 40,000. 7. And I know that there was a jury called in right before Christmas. What happened to having everybody having 5 cases ready to be on the spot in case you split? Having a good record means that you're going to have, at least for the court appointed, a decent attorney that's representing that defendant. So there's not, and you make sure, it's hard to get a lot of this in, you make sure that they get all the discovery that they're entitled to, which the Michael Morton Act has that happen. You make sure that you're playing it straight as the DA.
Do you need me to repeat the question, or?
I took it home. So the question was conviction or clean record for appeal. And my thought is, first of all, the role of a prosecutor is to see justice done. And that is justice for victims and defendants and the families. So it is not to seek a conviction. And absolutely, the role of the prosecutor is not to seek a conviction, but to do justice. And so, yes, if I've got a case like Justin Blaine Sicard, I absolutely want a conviction, and I also want a clean record. And that's why you want experienced prosecutors in that office that know what to listen for on appeal, that know how to watch out for defense attorneys that don't know what they're doing, and that's why you want experience. And that's what you've got with my office. And we don't have 7 prosecutors. We actually have myself, and I do have a caseload, and then I have 5 assistants.
Okay. Yes, yes.
So there's 5 additional assistants. So the cases aren't moving that quick. They're really not. They're not. And a lot of them, they're not. They're just not.
Okay,
Yes, I
can we just, yes.
But we're talking about that we've got a case that's about 4 years old, and a young man is staying in the Franklin County Jail. It's just been sitting there. And that is a case that should have been taken care of within about a year. I understand that you have some cases, murder cases and felony level 1, they may take a year or 2. But some of these cases are lingering on 4 or 5 years. And many of them, they're committing more crimes, they're out on a bond, or they're just sitting in our jails because they're being shipped off and we're spending money that way.
Thank you. Okay, so this will kind of go along with that question. How long can a case remain unresolved before it pleads or goes to trial? What time period is acceptable?
And that goes really to something I know Ms. King doesn't know about. It's called clearance rate. And that is that for every case that we bring in, we need to be moving some out, either by way of trial or plea. And so I have a very high clearance rate, which means I am moving the cases. In fact, I moved, me and my staff did, from the years that I've been in office, just since my last election, 3,000 cases. And think about that for a county our size. We are moving cases, and we're not just giving them away. Most every year, the majority of the people go to prison or jail. Okay, so we are incarcerating more people than we put on probation every year since I've been in office. And we don't want cases to sit around, because when cases sit around, memories fail, officers move on. So we are constantly moving, and it's not 5 cases we get ready for. We have 2- and 3-page dockets, and we go through all of those cases because I want them moved.
I've not seen the other thing, and those are provided by that office. But what I'm talking about is when the jury is called in, there's only one case. There ought to be, and there was in the previous regimes, that you'd have at least 5 cases ready. You needed to be ready because, number one, complete. That's not happening. And when you've got that many assistants in that office, you should be ready. When you've got somebody who's in private practice, or that they've got to be ready. That's not happening. So we have people come in, got to pay the jurors, and that's not happening. No, they're not moving those cases. They're bleeding out a lot of, in some of those cases, you're talking that we've got some options that you're talking about people that why do we have to have a conviction? Look at pre-trial diversions. We're not making a record. We don't give
Okay, on to the next one. We'll have you go first. What are some scenarios where the offer of probation would be appropriate for a defendant accused of sexual assault of a child?
It depends on the circumstances. You've got to look at the totality of the
That's what she
circumstances.
just asked, that's the
I
question.
think we all know of a situation where you've got the young man, people have talked about it, that's 17, 18, and then the young lady that's 13 or 14. You've got to look at that. If you have to look at the totality of the circumstances. What type of guardrails are you putting up?
If you're 18,
Are you making
13,
sure
you're
that
going
this
to
person has ankle monitoring, or are they, what type of guardrails are you putting in this situation? And that's what you have to look at, because, and have really tight reporting requirements. Sometimes that, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. There are some situations where you have habituals. Certainly, you can't when you have habituals.
See, answer the question.
I will say that since I've been in office in 2020, Ms. King has never tried a felony case since I've been in office. So I will tell you, I have. I just told you about a few of them. I'll also tell you about Camden Gage King, who was a young man. He was a young man and he molested his sister, 27 years in prison. Or there's also Fabio Mir, who had prohibited sexual contact with his stepdaughter, 40 years. That's what we think about sex offenders. Now, yes, we do have to look at each case. I don't just blanket say this is what's going to happen on every case, because there are different circumstances. And the role of a seasoned and good district attorney, which I happen to review every case that comes into our office. And I look at them and I decide which prosecutor is best suited for this type of case. And the child porn cases, they go to me, because I know I'm going to be tough on them and they are going to go to prison.
Nice.
Well, we're allowing one response each. Yes, each question. Thank you. So go ahead.
When she states that she tries each of those cases, she talked about Logan and I question that. I'm not really sure that she's ever void-eyed any jury by herself. I'm not really sure about that. I have tried cases. I try cases all the time. That's what a litigator does. And it's strange that a DA, she's an administrator, and it's odd that's not exactly true. I know of cases that I've had that the kibosh had to be determined by her first assistant. Never even got a response from Ms. Albers when I was doing criminal work. I quit doing criminal work in Wood County because it's difficult. And when it's very difficult, when you're not given what you're needed from that. You cannot get what is needed. You're having to fight, and when you're doing court-appointed work, it's terrible.
Okay, so how would each candidate, if elected, handle corruption, waste, fraud at the county level?
Well, and also the role of a criminal district attorney is not to investigate. We take cases that law enforcement brings to us. And so if they bring us a case about corruption, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, justice. Just to go back to Ms. King, she speaks in generalities and she doesn't really give us any hard facts like I'm giving you. The Office of Court Administration has all of our stats on there. That's where I can pull that up. She hasn't tried a case in the 5 years since I've been elected. I do go in on every jury selection that I'm able to because I want to see my young attorneys like Logan Sawyer, like Shauna Key, to see how they're doing and to help them because they need to grow in that. But I do try the tough cases. I do try the Justin Blaine Sicards, where a little girl was raped over and over and over again. And one reason for that is they want to look at me, a woman, and they feel much more comfortable.
And this one's based on how you would handle corruption, waste, and fraud at the county level.
That's what I thought, okay. At the county level, it's the DA. Well, it starts in the district attorney's office. You have to start right there and make sure that you're following. But there's a lot of things that I've heard, I have questions about. That's why I'm running. I want to get in there and have some transparency. That's what there's a lack of. There's certain things that we're not getting, that we need to know what's going on. As far as the fraud and corruption on the county level, it starts with the DA's office and making sure that you're providing things. And you're also, there's some cases where we don't have a cop that we're not going to get the information that all of a sudden he's gone because he had a proclivity to kind of enjoy the 18-year-old victims.
Okay, yes.
My turn. She says that she keeps saying we're not doing this. We are not getting discovery. That's because Ms. King doesn't practice criminal law. She hasn't tried felony cases in front of juries and in front of judges. We absolutely have an ethical obligation to turn over all of the evidence. And if you'll talk to some police officers like Deputy Skinner over there, she'll tell you they have to turn over all of their body cams and all of their reports. And all of that is turned over on a system I brought into our office, which is called TechShare, where we can actually see when the defense attorney is viewing the documents. So her we thing that we're not turning things over is absolutely false. And Ms. King, I understand she's sick, and you have to show up at this office. You can't call in your announcement to CPS court. You have to be there. This is a job that requires a lot of hard work, and I'm on call 24 hours. If Deputy Skinner calls me in the middle of the night, I've got my phone ready.
Okay. This question is for Sarah. If you are elected DA, how would you navigate the criminal side of cases, since you mainly work with family law now? And what qualities of your requirements of the position?
Well, first of all, my last two criminal cases were actually in 2023, which they ended up getting dismissed. And I had requested one of them be a bench trial, and I'd asked for a jury trial. And then it got down to both of them were requested to be jury trials, and they ended up being dismissed. So I want to make that statement. And it was difficult getting that information. And even though it's very similar, litigation is litigation. That's what it's all about. It's litigation. You're prosecuting every day. And so that's how you navigate it. So I've got the experience about to do that. I have tried cases day in and day out. I do all types of things. I'm available to my clients, which my clients would be y'all. It's very interesting that you can call in cases from time to time because, again, court appointed, you don't want to have waste. Why should I be at something that is not necessary in order for the taxpayers to have to pay me for something I don't want to do?
Okay, so this one's for you, Angela. What do you think your biggest achievement has been since being DA?
Well, as I started out, I'm a career prosecutor, and I view this as a calling, not just a job. And what drew me to this was being able to work with children. I have my own 3 children that I've raised, and then just this last week, being able to work with a child that had to go into a courtroom and talk about with her great uncle that he was secretly videoing her while she was in the safety of her shower. She needed somebody like me in there to help her. And the greatest, did you say greatest accomplishment? I really believe it is bringing my qualified ADAs that can go in there and handle commissioner county court business, because I'm not just the criminal side. I have to handle problems that elected officials have, contracts. I've got people that can do that from the business world. I've got people that handle CPS court, people that are seasoned attorneys. I think bringing stability to the office is my greatest achievement.
Okay, this one's for you, Sarah. I'm interested in your journey as a leader. Could you share the specific moment or experience that made you realize your core values were now more closely aligned with the Republican platform than the Democratic one?
Well, I've always considered myself social, a fiscal concern. How are we going to pay for it? And there are some issues which I see there's a diverse group here that we all can disagree on. I'll be very frank with you. It's the only way you can get elected here. I would have loved to have run as an independent because I think that's what's happening more and more. But the two-party system knocks those folks out from being able to do that. But how are we going to pay for it? That's always the first question that you have to ask, is how are we going to pay for it? I'm a little concerned about she's elected to be an administrator, and that's what she needs to be doing. So I understand she has to have assistants that can be administrators. I have been an administrator. I've been the managing partner at Brown Curry King. I've also worked in the real world. I'd be curious to know if she knows how much she pays for bar fees. I'd like to know how much the county pays for all her legal research engines. Does she know that? I know what it's like to run an office and how much it costs. I don't believe she does.
You? And then this one, Angela, we have received quite a few questions that were like specific in nature, and we didn't want to go down that road. So is there any general information you can share with us on any controversial cases that you might know that they have in the back of their heads? We were getting really specific case questions.
Well, and that's the first thing, and I go back to integrity. Because as the leader of the DA's office, you have to know that there are certain things that you cannot talk about. Because why? It'll compromise the investigation. And I do not want to do that ever. I'm available for law enforcement to talk to, run things off of, but I am not going to go out and talk about specific cases that are pending, because that could jeopardize them. And my role as a district attorney is to see justice done, and that would be doing the opposite, and I'm not going to do that.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm right at a half hour, so is that?
Yes. Thank you, ladies, so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
We had way more questions than we had time.
Oh, sorry, closing, you guys.
Yes, closing
So
remarks,
sorry.
2 minutes. Yep.
Sorry, 2 minutes each. You want to go, Sarah?
attorney because I care about this county, and I care about the safety of this county, and I care about the safety of people who come to visit here. It's true, I'm not hiding the fact that I'm fine, I'm going through immunotherapy, it's amazing, and so I'm in remission. But I care about this county, and there is more. There's a power above that helps us all out. But I have concerns about the fact that there's a man that's out that because of just sheer neglect. There's a lot of neglect that goes on that I've seen. You talk about some specific cases. Well, I know about those because I've been a criminal defense attorney. By the way, I've been a city prosecutor. But when you're a plaintiff, you're prosecuting when you're doing civil cases. When you're doing many of your cases, you're doing it. But that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the fact that there's lack of empathy for many of the victims, alleged victims. I'm concerned about the fact that there's not, they're not looking at the cases. They're not working the cases. There's not any discussion about the cases that have fallen through the crack. There's not. She's not going to talk about those. I'm concerned about the waste that's going on and that needs to get fixed. And there's unanswered questions as to why. Why is this happening? Why aren't cases moving faster? Because they're just not. They're just not moving faster.
First of all, I want to thank y'all for coming here on a Monday evening and giving up your time. And that shows that you're committed, that you want to know about who the candidates are. And I'll tell you, I want to tell you why I am the person for the job that I've been doing since 2019 and being a prosecutor since 2000. I know I don't look that old, but it's been that long. Ms. King talks about, well, they're not moving this and they're not, but she's speaking in generalities, and I've got hard facts for you. And I'd be willing to talk to any of you about our statistics. I cannot talk to you about open cases. I'm not going to do that because my goal and my role is to see justice done. And that is for defendants and for victims. And I want to just end with this. I could go on, I could read this whole list to you about just in the last couple of years, the tough sentences that I've gotten. I could, talk to you about Billy Wayne Cotton, a murder. Trying Class C traffic tickets is very different than talking about someone who has been killed and bringing that case to trial, which I did this last year, and got a conviction in time. But being the district attorney is not just about convictions and time. It's about integrity. I'm not going to switch parties. There's nothing that you could say to convince me to become a Democrat. Nothing. Because it's in my soul. It's in my being. It's also about doing the right thing. And I'm a committed Christian. I accepted the Lord at a young age, and I have tried my best to live a life that would follow after Jesus. And so that is in the back of my mind when I'm looking at these cases is Jesus wants me to be himself to people. And that's what I try to do. I see justice done for victims and defendants every time.